Bonjour, je m'appelle Madame Michon. I'm Susan Michon, Mrs. Michon, Madame Michon, and I am the teacher for the R7 Online French 1 class. This is just a quick video to get you acquainted with the class. If you're watching this, it is likely that you're transferring, and hopefully this will be similar in terms of format and terminology to whichever class you were in previously. And if anything doesn't make sense or isn't clear, of course, please set up a time to meet with me virtually and we can talk about any questions that you might have. So without further ado, bienvenue. Our daily routine. So as you think about what you're going to do every day for French, the first thing you're going to do is open up Schoology and you're going to look at the slides. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So here's our Schoology course. At the very top, every single week is going to be a folder, always a red folder, une chemise rouge, qui s'appelle Cette semaine. Cette semaine en anglais, say this week. So this is our this week folder. This one is obviously from last week. I'm recording this on November 1st. This is the beginning of our fall break. So this is from the week before our fall break. And when you open it up, you're going to see what you will see in a typical week. So we have a folder for each day of the week. Lundi, mardi, mercredi, jeudi, vendredi. And underneath you see les diapos de la semaine, this week's slides. The slides are extremely important. I cannot stress enough how important they are because they are the outline of exactly what you're doing on a given day. So every slideshow starts with the checklist for the week. Items in red are graded. Items in pink are prep to be graded later. And then items in black are practice. So you can kind of see which ones are the most important right away. Now, of course, even if it's not red, it will either be graded later or what you're supposed to be practicing will be graded later. So really all of it is mandatory, but only the things in red will I be grading right away. So in a given week, you're always going to have two discussions. They'll be based on our This Day in History slides. I call that Aujourd'hui dans l'Histoire, which is just today in history in French. You may be familiar with that concept, those slides from your in-person French class. So you'll see what those are momentarily. You'll always have a translation every week. Some of my colleagues call those class notes. So if you did class notes in your previous French class, that's what this is. Une traduction or translation is what I call it. And it's always going to be from the special person interview or the story that we did the previous week. So this particular week, they had to translate the story called La grenouille qui aime chanter, the frog who likes to sing. So every week you will have the option. I know that some people aren't able to make it to our live meets. Our live meets are on Wednesdays from 8:45 to about 9:30. And I will show you where you can find the information for that, the meet code and everything. But not everybody can make it to them or, or have other commitments. So if you can't make it to the meet, you also have the option of doing a flip grid. So that either meet participation or Flipgrid is one of your weekly grades. Then we have a quiz every week. This week it was on Le Monstre, a monster character that we made up in class. It's always a listening quiz. So you'll be listening to me make statements and you'll decide whether those statements are vrai, true, or faux, false. This week, this is not something that we typically have, but we had a worksheet. You will have a quick write every week, probably a concept you're familiar with from your previous in-person class, but I'll also go over it in a little bit. And then finally, these two things that are completely optional. The weekly check-in, I love to hear how you're doing. If you want to share anything with me, that's a great place to do so. And then Muzzy is just a program that you can watch to help you with your comprehension. It's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended. And then any announcements or reminders that I need to make are going to be found on this first slide as well. So those are your weekly slides. I will show you them again in a little bit, but let me just really quickly, you're going to do each day's work on the day it's assigned. I would highly recommend this because although it's not 100% mandatory, it will keep you from feeling overwhelmed if you get behind. So each day on the slides is a different color. So lundi is going to be this like tannish, peachish color. Always starts with, an agenda for the day. And then it goes through. For Monday, you're getting your mot de passe or your password for the week. You're getting your first discussion question for the week over Aujourd'hui dans l'Histoire, today in history. You get to hear about weekend talk for the first time, although you won't do much with that until Wednesday when you do either the Flipgrid or the in-person or real-time live meet. Some TPR, the different gestures, our song of the week, la chanson de la semaine, and then finally the homework for the week, la traduction, la grenouille qui aime chanter. This is all kind of explained here. So that is everything for one given day. So that's just an example of what those slides are going to look like. And like I said, every day is a different color. So when you get to a new color, you'll notice that it says mardi. We've started a new day. So mardi is going to be vert, green, and then mercredi, bleu, etc. So that's going to give you everything you need to know throughout the week. When you have certain things that are assigned on certain days, you'll find those assignments in the folder. I always link these assignments to the slides too, so you don't necessarily have to access them in the folder. But for example, we saw in the slides that you have a discussion for this day in history. Here's where you would do that discussion. You saw in the slides that you had that translation to do. Here is where you would upload that assignment. So for whatever day the assignments are assigned, you'll find the actual Schoology, in this case discussion or assignment, in that day's folder. I also make a video every day, so you can watch that video by clicking on this link. It will just kind of go through the slides for the day and explain what you're expected to do. So that is the basic stuff you need to know about Schoology. Although everything is assigned on a certain day, everything is officially due at the end of the week. So the discussion and the translation that you saw for Monday, although they're assigned on Monday, I won't actually be putting grades in for them until probably the following Monday. They're officially due that Friday. So just keep that in mind. The regular activities that we're going to be doing. So basically you'll be doing these activities each week. In the live meet or the Flipgrid, you'll be responsible for knowing our mot de passe, our password. You'll be responsible for answering a question about the weekend. Weekend talk is what that's called. You'll be responsible in most cases for doing a couple of TPR moves. We also call those les gestes. Things like this, like je touche la tête, je danse, je mange. So you'll be responsible for showing me that you know those actions along with the words that go with them. The one homework assignment per week, pretty much always a translation of the previous week's story or special person interview. And like I said, some of your previous teacher in person might have called this class notes. It's the same thing. And then 2 discussions per week, pretty much always going to be based on Aujourd'hui dans l'Histoire. You'll also have approximately 1 story a week. When we do a story or a special person interview, I usually tell that story or do the special person interview in our live meet on Wednesday. And then I will make a Google form that has the video from that live meet so you can see me telling the story. At the end of the story, we do what's called a write and discuss. Again, you might know this terminology from your in-person class previously. The write and discuss is essentially just a summary of the story we just told or a summary of the interview we just did with a person. The write and discuss, that summary, you can then use to take your listening quiz. So you're listening to me make statements in French, you're looking at the summary, and you're determining whether what I say matches what you see in the summary. If it does, it will be a true statement, vrai. If it doesn't, it will be a false statement, faux. Again, you might be familiar with this format already because of the time you spent in the in-person class. Yet another thing you might be familiar with is the concept of a quick write. So let me show you back in the slides. If we go to Friday, you see that this slide is called quick write. So basically, 1 minute 30 secondes. You can use this timer or you can make your own 1 minute 30 timer on a phone or whatever works for you, whatever is easiest. In the quick write section of your cahier, of your folder, your notebook, you should be able to write for 1 minute 30 seconds. That might just be a list. At this point, I'd like to see at least a few sentences or even a paragraph. If you are capable of writing a cohesive paragraph, I want you to strive to do that. I'll be giving you more direction on that later on, but this is something we will do regularly. I didn't want this video to be much more than 10 minutes, and I'm hitting that point now. So the last thing I want to talk about, occasionally you'll have other activities. Those I will explain on a case-by-case basis. Your grades are mostly input. When you're learning a language, understanding what you are hearing and what you're reading, that's the most important part to kind of get the ball rolling in terms of your grasp of the language. So input, the listening quizzes that we do, or the translations that you do, where where you are reading and having to make sense of that. That's the most important part of your grade. Our listening quizzes will be worth 70%. Output is the speaking or writing you do. So those are our quick writes and the flip grid every week, or your participation in our meet every week. And then finally, we have a classwork/homework grade, and this is going to be where your translations are. I kind of misspoke earlier. Yes, that is still input. You're showing me what you understand, but you might be using outside resources to do so, which is fine, but that means it's going to be worth a little bit less in terms of your grade. So if you continue doing all of your work, it will be put into these different categories, but I think you'll find that your grade, as long as you continue doing your work throughout the semester, will be just fine. So just keep up with everything and you should be good to go. The last thing I wanted to show you is this. On the outside of the folder called Cette Semaine, you see the information for joining our Google Meet. This is the time, this is the code, and then also I have open meets on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 8:45 to 9:30. You can always jump on. It's the same Google Meet code, and you can ask me questions. Another way to ask me questions is to use the meeting sign up button up here. You can use that. It will take you to Calendly, which is a program that you can use that's hooked up to my calendar, so you can make an appointment with me that way. And that is where I'm going to end this video. If you still have questions, please email me. Otherwise, the first thing you're going to want to do as soon as our fall break is over, so next Monday, the 8th, you'll open up your folder that says Cette Semaine. You'll go through those slides and hopefully things will be pretty clear. If not, just contact me and I'll help you out. Welcome to our class. Au revoir.